Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality in a way that is extremely empowering. Speaking of exploring powerful perspectives, I'm super excited to announce the release of my very first book, The Golden Key: Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. If you're ready to alchemize the circumstances in your life so that your abundance expands to an entirely new level in 2021, head over to goldenkey.gift to download the audio or ebook as my gift to you by using the code POSITIVEHEAD. All right, all you positive heads. On this week's Soul Share episode, I'm very excited to have Theresa Cheung here with me on the show. Theresa is a dream expert and best-selling author of the wildly popular Dream Dictionary from A to Z, as well as 40-plus other books and card decks. Super excited to have you here. Hello, Theresa. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hello. I'm so glad we started recording because we were talking before.
Yeah. I'm like, this one, we get like 15 minutes in, and I'm like, this should all be being recorded. And
it was
we're
too
just
good,
like,
wasn't it? We were going into all sorts of topics, and I thought, this is great. This needs to be shared.
Yeah. So let's start at the very cliche opening question I always ask. And it is this. You're in an elevator. The woman next to you looks over, says, "What's your passion?" You have 10 floors to answer. What do you say?
My passion is animals. I love animals. And I love every moment of my life. That's my passion. After that, is obviously the people I care about and my work. That's a lot of passions, isn't it? I should have mentioned one. No. Did you want one or lots?
No, you know what? Just whatever the truth is. And yeah. I like that your answer wasn't, what I would expect necessarily. I thought it would be something regarding your work. A lot of times people go there. So the fact that you went to something as fundamental as my love of animals, I love that. And I'm wondering, have you written a book about animals?
Well, psychic cats, yes. Not one of my, as I say, not my finest hour.
Yeah. I see you've got an animal there coaching you through this.
I have 2 cats and 2 dogs. I wrote a book called Psychic Cats, actually. And in some of my afterlife books, I do a chapter on animals saving lives and healing lives. Soul companions. I don't think we deserve animals. No. The human race, they are so beautiful. They are what I'm passionate about. But just life, really, every moment.
Beautiful.
It's exciting because I have this philosophy: if I'm not happy right now, why do you think I'm going to be happy in the future?
Right. That is the thing, taking responsibility. And it's one of the things we talk about incessantly on the show. Is like, it's not, there is no out there that's going to make you, find peace or happiness. And I like to say, happy is certainly the aim, but it's not really in the cards to always be, super blissed out. Although we can always find a way to be at peace with what's arising,
Yeah, inner peace is good. As you're right. Everybody's, especially when they are drawn to new age or personal growth, they think you have to find happiness. It's all about being happy. And but I always equate it to these great novels and movies we love. Look, I love Lord of the Rings. I'm not ashamed to come out as a huge fan.
Me too.
But imagine the whole thing set in the Shire.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's a really good way to put it. That's exactly it.
Or
it's like
Harry Potter without Voldemort. I know these things, but that's what grips us. And it's life's a ride, isn't it? The highs and the lows, but it's learning how to navigate all that. And
you've never seen a great work of art without shadow in it.
Yes. And that's where dreams come in, because dreams connect us to our shadow in a safe and healing way.
Let's talk about that. Before we go too far into that, though, I would like to get a little context into you, your backstory, whatever feels relevant to share. As we chat today.
You want to know? Well, oh gosh, it's trouble is I always find it so boring to talk about yourself because I've heard it all before.
Yeah, I know. I feel you. I feel like I'm just like a program that the universe created just to run this like Brandon script of, here's my message for the world. I will dispense my message. I will,
So I was born into a family of travelers, psychics and spiritualists, astrologers, very alternative upbringing, home educated. Somehow, goodness knows how, I got a place at King's College, Cambridge to read theology and religion, which was wild. But of course, when I went to Cambridge, I thought everybody believed in talking to dead people and interpreting dreams and playing with tarot cards. And I realized that was very much in the minority. Mm-hmm. So that was a huge learning curve for me, but it enabled me, that academic background, to do what I love, which is to write about the meaning of life, because that's what I feel all my books really are about. They're about what is the meaning of life. And I first of all started off actually being a ghostwriter. Now that doesn't mean writing about spirits, it means writing for celebrities. And then eventually I've done my time. And I was given the fantastic opportunity by HarperCollins to write an encyclopedia of the psychic world, which is an A to Z of everything paranormal. And that, I think, really sowed the seeds of me being this crazy author that writes about so many different topics. But for me, dreams, astrology, tarot, numerology, afterlife, angels, rituals, intuition, precognition, they're all connected. Yeah. They're all one of the same. So I have had many opportunities to write books, and I'm very, very fortunate. I'm able to write about what I find, what I wake up in the morning and want to know more about. I'm able to write about that, and I'm very blessed.
Yeah, it's really cool, your approach, because it's like almost creating a baseline for so many different things, it seems, and as opposed to going super niche in this one direction, it's like, here's the A to Z of this, here's the basics of this. And I think that's a really necessary.
But there's real pressure to make me into that. To from the people that work with me or the media or whatever, they will want a label all the time, and I loved confusing them. That I was the angel lady for a while. Then I was somehow named the world's greatest psychic. I have one newspaper did that. I had no idea because I did a book. It's ridiculous. I've never ever claimed to be a psychic.
That's awesome.
It's mad. Because
it was a prediction of the future when you became a psychic that you would become the world's greatest psychic. Well, maybe they were the greatest psychic. I wrote a book
that had profiles, psychological profiles based on astrology and divination that have turned out to be fairly accurate, because there's a lot of common sense in there. And, maybe it was a hunch or a lucky hit. I don't know. Things like that. But there's a tendency to want to label you. And I just say, no, I'm a kind of like a spiritual being interested in all these different strands and keep reinventing myself constantly. At the moment, dreams, I wrote my first dream dictionary in 2006. It did do very, very well, but because of the pandemic and the lockdown dream phenomenon, my publishers reissued it at HarperCollins, and the interest is just unprecedented in my dream decoding, because that dream dictionary, I do a psychological approach to common dreams, and try to take out the woo-woo. Again, I think that's my mission as well, to take the woo-woo out of all this new age talk and show that it's just common sense, a lot of it, and it's just a hopeful, mysterious approach to life.
Well, I love, I think it's Nassim Haramein who talks about, just to paraphrase, he said, all the woo-woo stuff is just science that we've yet to understand. It's all magical and mystical from one perspective, and it's all, decodable from another, I think, as a part of the makeup of being. And it's sort of like science and spirituality being two sides of the same coin.
Oh,
And
absolutely. And I work a lot with scientists now. I've co-authored a book with a neuroscientist to look in depth at what precognition is or intuition. And I love to collaborate with scientists now and always try in my books now to back it up with a scientific study into psychic abilities, into afterlife communication, into dreaming, into lucid dreaming, into all these things. And I think there are a lot of scientists now who are very open-minded,
yeah.
who are acknowledging that there's an aspect of ourselves which is invisible,
Mm-hmm.
unseen, can't be measured in a logical, rational way, but it's just as important. And that's a real step forward.
Huge step forward.
Yeah. So I love to work with them. I do work with them and try and bring in their scientific studies into my books if I can, so that people can't label me, oh, this is all anecdotal, which is often the criticism you get when you write in this area, which is very unregulated, unregulated. Right, and that's another thing I've tried to do. I tried to bring in some regulation for mediums, for example, and psychics, that there should be some kind of scientific testing for that. And I've been at the forefront of trying to do that. And people who just suddenly claim to be light workers because they have had a vision of the angel Gabriel or something, which is very nice for them. But does that necessarily qualify them to then say, tell other people how to live? You know, right. I'm very much about getting people to be their own psychic, their own medium.
Your own guru. Yeah, that's been my whole thing. I say it all the time on the show is we teach best what we most need to learn. And I've got a whole lot of ideas on everything. And I always approach it with a sense of humility and, you know, hey, try this on for yourself. When it gets into like, this is matter of fact how it is, and I am the, you know, the linchpin because of my special gift, and I'm the guru, that stuff just like really nauseates me.
Well, I always encourage people when they are going down that route, when I see it happening, is to watch some of these fantastic documentaries like Wild Wild Country.
Yeah, right.
Netflix. And I've had the privilege of talking to a couple of people in the documentary Holy Hell to learn about their journey and how they were sucked into it, a charismatic spiritual leader. You know, and you know, there's something in human nature that wants to follow.
Yep.
When somebody claims authority from another side, it's fine if that person is decent and has that person's best interests at heart, but often they don't. So I've been working with scientists to try and get something in place so that if you want to visit a medium, for example, which a lot of people want to do during the pandemic because they've lost loved ones, that you can contact a place where the mediums have a code of conduct and ethics. For example, no more than 1 or 2 visits. That's it. And that they've been tested scientifically to see that what they're doing is above chance. I think that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Then there could be a place for mediumship alongside grief therapy in some way. You know,
I love that idea.
When you've lost someone, anyone who's lost a loved one will know that somehow that person hasn't gone. They're alive in their memories, their heart, their soul. And they want that ongoing connection, that spiritual connection.
Yeah.
And they want to talk about it. Sorry, I'm probably going off topic.
No, there is no off topic on the show. It's all, you know, game for discussion and exploration. Are you familiar with the book, The Afterlife Experiments?
I have heard of it. I haven't actually read it.
It's really great. I think you would really appreciate it. It was written 20 years ago or so by a guy right down the street from where, well, I lived just a few miles from UCI, University of California, Irvine. Back at the time when it was written, I lived right there, and he did the same thing. He took a very scientific approach to experimenting mediumship, and he did, you know, blind and double blind studies, and you know all these things. And it's, you know, he's a scientist. He's a professor at this, you know, university, and his end conclusion was, you know, like 1 in a trillion chance that this was, you know, just guesswork that was happening with some of the experiments. But it was super scientific approach to exploring it. So I think you would really appreciate that book.
Oh, I will check it out. Thank you for the recommendation, because that's what I'm all about, is trying to bring in the science and to take away some of the potential for fraud and misunderstanding, you know, that it surrounds this area.
It gets, you know, one bad apple, and then it gets, you know, now lumped in with, oh, it's all BS. It's
Yeah.
all like this. And,
No,
and
there's some
it goes,
people-
sorry,
There are
go
some
ahead.
people with genuine ability to sort of sense something. I've seen it. I've seen great mediums
too.
work. But typically they're ones who don't have a best-selling book or go on tour.
Yeah,
And
right.
they work quietly and don't charge huge amounts.
Yep.
They're the real spiritual warriors, as it were. But
Yeah.
then again, they wouldn't want to be put on a pedestal. That's, they want to empower the people that come to them to find their own connection. That's the mark of a good teacher, a good healer, a good guru, is to always make their role redundant.
Yep. Right. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Yeah, I've had some interesting, it'd probably be fun to share. Some of the regular listeners have heard me talk about some cool dream stuff recently. I am not 40 plus books released. I am one book into my author career that I just released a few months ago.
Oh, what's it called?
It's called The Golden Key, Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. And the idea came to me. I mean, I always knew I would write. I actually started writing a book many, many years ago and just kind of shelved it at the time. It was before I launched this podcast. And I always knew, it's not if, but when I would write. And that was the first thing I wanted to be as a child. I want to be a writer when I grow up. And so August 6th, 2020, I had a dream. And it was showing me the basic content of what my book should be, and also I'm marketing it in a unique way. I'm allowing people to create codes that they can gift it to others, and audio and or ebook. And then at the end of the book, I invite people to play an abundance manifestation game where totally optionally they can pay for the book anything they want after reading it, and then when that happens, I share that abundance with all the people who are playing the game, or we can take a percentage and goes to a charity as well. And so this was all kind of shown to me in a dream. And what was cool is I then it was followed by a bunch of synchronicity. I went okay, what would I call this? Oh, the Golden Key seems appropriate. And then I searched to see if anyone's used that name. And 100 years ago, 1931, someone created an essay called The Golden Key, which is one of the first person to kind of bridge, kind of this new thought with Christianity a little bit. And this guy, Emmett Fox, well known, I had never heard of it, but in his description, it was like very gamification centric. Like, I dare you to try it and see for yourself. So of course I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the 100-year later version. And then I go to my friend, Theresa, and I have an amazing artist friend, a visionary artist. And I'm thinking, gosh, I would love Vajra to create the cover art for my book. And so I
Google it. I want to have a look at the cover.
Yeah. So get this. I go to my good friend Vajra, and I say, hey Vajra, I've had this, and him and I have had all kinds of magical synchronistic stuff happen between us in the past. And I was like, I've had this dream, and it's, I'm going to do this book called The Golden Key. And, here's what I found. This Emmett Fox guy did one 100 years ago. And I tell him my whole spiel. And I would love for you to create the cover art, although I know your artistic process takes a long time, and I'm concerned that, you'd take too long, essentially. Right. And so after I'm done with my whole spiel, he says, well, my turn. He goes, let me get my dream journal. He grabs his dream journal and he says,
fantastic.
A couple months ago, I had a dream where I run a communal property in the LA area we call the Mystic Manor. And he said, a couple months ago, I had a dream where I was at the Mystic Manor and I was hunting for the key to everything. And he goes and reads this long, he's very poetic in everything he does and artistic. He's like the quintessential artist. And so he's reading his whole dream to me. He goes, so to answer your question, will I create the cover art for your book? I started it several months ago after this inspirational dream that I had hunting for the key to everything at your house. So I thought you would appreciate that one.
It's beautiful. I'm just looking at it, actually. It's the blue. I love the color blue in it.
And you see the heart, the infinite love, kind of the heart and the infinity symbol.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Let me just click on it.
Yep, that's the one.
God,
and those of you listening who aren't familiar, if you go to goldenkey.gift and you use the code POSITIVEHEAD, you can get the audio and or ebook.
I'm just going to read your book now. Carry on talking.
You go ahead.
I've got it all open.
Bad news, everyone. It's just me talking again.
I love it. I love it.
Oh.
Modern Alchemy. Yeah. The Alchemist was one of my favorite books.
It's so good. It's so good. And,
Yeah.
I talk about, abundance is, a lot of times people equate that to, money. And that's a reflection of abundance in one form. But certainly, there's so many forms, time being the most valuable form of abundance, I would say. And,
Absolutely.
and
time is the greatest gift, isn't it? That you can give yourself and others.
Yeah,
It's something you can't get back.
That is exactly right. Exactly right. Well, wow, you have so many cool things here we could talk about, and I love just getting the foundation of your approach to it. So I'm curious with things like angelic encounters,
Yes.
or okay. Well, before I go down that road, I do have one other dream situation that's been coming up lately that I'd like to share. So let me before we go off of dreams for a second. So interestingly enough, of course, as synchronicity would have it, I'm talking to the dream lady today, and the last few weeks I've had a dream, a series of dreams that kind of left me feeling unsettled, and so I'd love your interpretation. Probably my biggest fear, easily to say, is I have a son and something happening to my son. That's my whole life. It's that's the weak point. My mother's very much so concerned about her children and their children's safety. And I think maybe some of that I've taken from her, and I'm not over the top or anything, but when I get dreams like what I've had, it's been a little weird, like the last few weeks. So I dreamed a few weeks ago that my son was in a wheelchair, and I didn't remember the dream until a few hours later. I was being interviewed on someone else's podcast who was in a wheelchair and brought up, oh, I'm in a wheelchair. And I was like, oh yeah, I remembered this dream last night where Bradley was in a wheelchair. So that was the first thing. Then maybe a few days later, week later, maybe, I dreamed I'm on the phone with him, and I'm in my old apartment complex I lived in a decade plus ago. And I'm on the side of a road intersection, and on the corner of the complex, and all of a sudden I see someone do a bad U-turn in the middle of the road and gets T-boned by another car. And then they pull a body out, and I'm talking to my son on the phone at the time when I'm just talking. He's like, hey, Dad, you forgot to pick me up for tennis practice or something. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm late. Sorry, I forgot. And as I'm talking to him, I see this accident happen right in front of me. And as soon as I see the accident, his phone dies too. And then they pull someone out of the back, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, his phone must have run out of juice. I got to get to him. He's already there waiting. I'm late to pick him up. But then I can't exit my apartment complex. I'm like, how you run slow in dreams? I can't find the exit to get to my car to drive to go to get to him. And then just to add the third little piece to it, I'm like, okay, I've had these kind of weird things. I'm like, Bradley, be really careful driving. I've been, I had these two weird dreams, And then my good friend who's been on the show, I've been on his show, Lee Harris. I don't know if you're familiar with him. English chap as well, who does these awesome energy updates. He's a channel and intuitive, and he's such an amazing soul. And he is really popular on YouTube with his monthly energy updates. He just posted his July energy update, and the subtitle is, whatever's happening in the collective, right? And then one of the subtitles is the car crash deception. And I'm like, really? What a weird part of your subtitle. Normally it's like, words you'd expect to see in the subtitle of what's happening. So that's been a thing that's unfolded over the last few weeks that has left me, more than once now telling him drive, because he can be, my son's very, speaking of like quintessential artists, kind of him and Vajra really get along because he's like such a poet too, and writing all day, every day, and working on his first short film, and he's very, driving. I think he can just be in his head a lot, and so I've just reminded him how important it is to pay attention when you're driving.
So would you like my thoughts?
I would. Yeah.
Obviously, as I always say to people, the best person to interpret your dreams is you, because you know your life. Now, your dreams are a commentary in symbolic form on your waking life. And for me, what immediately jumped out is your son. Mm-hmm. Obviously, this is about your son. However, it's not about your son. It's about, when you go into the world of the dream, you're actually dreaming aspects of your own personality. And in your dream, your son is a clear symbol for me of your inner child. It's not him. It's what he symbolizes to you. And the fact that you feel that you can't reach him or that he's in danger is suggesting that maybe in your own life, you're feeling cut off from that childlike spontaneity and wanting to know how to resuscitate that. Try not to think of it literally. Think of it, what does my son, what this aspect of my personality is he for me? And it is your inner child speaking to you loud and clear. Now, the other elements which suggest an element of precognition are very exciting, because I've written about that in a book with a neuroscientist called the precognition code. Dreams do have this habit of sometimes offering really fascinating glimpses of the future, that a word you hear in your dream or an object or a person that you haven't actually thought about before, then the next day you encounter it. This is absolutely fascinating and leads us to explore what is time, what is past, what is present, what is future. But it also shows that there is a part of ourselves that sees the bigger picture of our lives. Yeah. And in dreams, that's where we go. We go and meet that part of ourselves, which is so infinitely wise, because when you leap forward in life, it's because you make the right connections between things, the right creative connections. And that's what your dreaming mind's trying to help you do. Now, if you hadn't seen the car crash term the next day, my obvious interpretation of a car crash is that something in your life is heading towards a collision course, because vehicles in dreams are the direction in life. There's going to be a point of no return. And the dead bodies are aspects of your personality or personality traits that you either are uncomfortable with or need to remove. But please don't worry that it's anything to do with your son being involved in accident. You're not dreaming him, you're dreaming you.
Interesting.
Dreams are the ultimate ego hit, because you're dreaming yourself, if that makes sense. And I always encourage people who struggle with that concept to watch Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio, which captured that fantastically, because the director Christopher Nolan, a vivid dreamer himself, wanted to create a film that actually captured the world of the dream. And there's that moment when every character in the dream stops and stares at the dreamer. Everything in your dream, from the colors to the people to the story, is a symbolic manifestation of an aspect of you. And if you can start seeing it that way, that you're in a hall of mirrors, it makes dream interpretation so much easier. It's that big block. So many people say, I've had this dream, and they take it literally.
Yeah.
It's not. Dreams speak in a different language. Of course they do, because when you go into the world of dream, you're in a different state of awareness. It has a different language. And that language is the language of symbol and metaphor, which we have lost the ability to do, to look beneath the surface, the hidden meaning. We're very much a society now which looks on the surface of things, the superficial, the obvious. Dreams encourage us to go and find what lies beneath. So every color, every emotion, every story, every person, everything in your dream is not them. It's something about you. So this is a dream about your inner child and how you're trying to reconnect with it. And you're very aware that you need to nurture it. And you will just ask for another dream to maybe meet your inner child in your dream and have a conversation. What does your inner child want to tell you?
Oh, I like that. You know, what's interesting is even as you're talking, I forgot a new piece that sort of unfolded just last night. I've been going through a, how would I put it? Maybe recalibration or rearranging with a significant person in my life, relationship wise. And there's been a big shift in the last week or so with this person and how we're relating to one another.
That's the dead body, because when you have death isn't death, it's a symbol of change. Something's ending, something's beginning.
Yeah, what's interesting is yesterday, I didn't see her all day. She gets home and she's like, oh, I had such a day. Like, I lost my car keys. And so we were stuck at this spot for a while. And I saw 2 car crashes within 30 minutes of each other in the same spot. And the second one, the car actually flipped over and they couldn't get the body out. Or the person out. Not that they were dead. We didn't know. But like, she's like, can you believe I was stuck because I lost my car keys, and then there's 2 crashes in the same spot within 30 minutes of each other. So that was last night. That's the latest addition to this thing.
That is fascinating. This is absolutely fascinating. Yeah, that's all these strands connecting us and showing us that this life is so interconnected and far more mysterious than we think it is. I don't know why skeptics and everyone want to pretend that logic and reason, we don't even know why we're here. I mean, just think about it. Why are we here?
I know. I say that all the time.
What's the point?
I say it all the time.
Scientists don't know the answer. And they say, well, it's just a sort of a random spark of life. But why?
Yeah.
You look at anytime you just look at a starry night, that there's a bigger picture here. There's an interconnection. We are part of something bigger. Yeah. And I think dreams connect us to that. They're like the portal.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that because of the lockdown dream phenomenon, because of the grief and crisis of the pandemic, everybody was dreaming so vividly. I love that because it's enabled me as a dream author to talk about dreams, first of all, how to decode your dreams and give some simple tools. But by doing that, what these interviewers and journalists don't realize who've contacted me is I'm talking about spirituality.
Yeah.
But because I pretend I've approached dream interpretation very practically, they don't realize that it's the opening. Because once you start thinking, why do I dream? What's going on there?
Yeah.
Where do I go? You're starting to spiritually awaken.
Yeah. And once you start to
realize it,
you start to consider, well, is this has the qualities of a dream, a vivid dream in a sense. Like I always say, we're a dream God once had, and is having and is always having. And it's like, this is it's a light show. Like you're literally in a, simulation of sorts if you look at the science of it, there's a lot supporting that. So it's, I love what you said. It's like, the scientist who comes up with this analytical, thing. And it's like, have you stopped to assess the fact that you exist and how completely bizarre that is in itself? Like, or is that just like,
just every time we wake up in the morning, again, that's a miracle.
Yeah.
Absolute miracle. The colors of nature, the absolute beauty of a landscape. It's breathtaking. And we all take it for granted that this life is so mysterious. Yeah. It is so mysterious. And dreams can feel so real when you have them. Where are we?
Yeah.
What is going on? Because try as they might, scientists know more about the craters of the moon than they do about why we dream. They don't really know why we create these incredible stories. Stories that actually have led to great scientific inventions, that have led to great artistic masterpieces, that have led to great novels, movies, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Scientists don't know why we dream. There are theories, but none of these theories are 100% satisfying. What we do know is that dream recall is healthy, emotionally and psychologically healthy, and that cultures that place dream life center stage have no incidents of crime or depression.
Wow. Interesting.
Tribal cultures like the Sonoy or the Para tribes, where the dream life is considered as important, if not more so, than the waking life. And children as young as 4 are encouraged every morning to sit in front of the elders of the tribe and talk about their dreams.
Wow.
And if they encountered something frightening in their dream, they are encouraged the following night to incubate a dream, to go back into that dream and face rather than run from that fear. Typically what they encounter is a tiger or a wild animal trying to attack them. And the thinking is that this is a kind of a role play, a rehearsal in the dream to give, so that when it happens in real life, they've been there before, they know what to do.
Yeah.
It can save lives. And that is a theory of dreams, that it's role play to actually help us when the worst does happen.
Before we continue on with today's episode, I'd like to take a moment to share an exciting new development in my world that can benefit those of you who are ready to get out there and travel. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, at some point you have most likely heard me talk about my personal hero's journey tale regarding the Inc. fastest growing private travel company I co-founded that imploded back in 2015. Well, out of the ashes of that challenging lesson, my brother and I started a new travel company called Hello Vacay. And an exciting new chapter has just unfolded in my travel company saga as Hello Vacay recently secured a huge partnership with the world's largest online travel agency, Priceline. Essentially, due to our past success working with them all those years ago, they have agreed to give us access to their deeply discounted private wholesale booking rates. Our new site, hellovacay.com, is sort of like the Costco for hotel and alternate accommodations because it allows anyone to get access to these wholesale rates, which are up to 50% off the normal booking rates you'll find on all the other major online travel sites. The only caveat is that Priceline won't let us display these rates publicly because they are so much lower than even what you would see at Priceline.com. So to offer them, they insisted that we have a paid membership for people to get access to these much lower rates. And since I appreciate all of your ongoing support as I've continued to share the updates on my entrepreneurial journey over the years, I originally announced that we would give you all 50% off the normal membership fee of $79 a year. However, after talking to my brother more about it, I convinced him to give all of you 100% free access for the first year when you go to hellovacay.com and use the code PHFreeYear at checkout for the yearly plan. And be sure to choose the yearly plan, not monthly, when you're signing up to get the full free year access. Once you're a member, you'll see that the discounts vary from city to city and season to season. But if you're traveling with any regularity, your savings will easily add up to hundreds or even thousands of dollars a year. I personally saved over $200 in one weekend when I went to Seattle not too long ago. Also, I'm honestly not sure how long my brother will agree to allow me to run this free year offer. So if you plan to travel at all in the coming year, be sure to go to hellovacay.com, spelled HELLOVACAY.com, and use the code PHFreeYear to take advantage and get free access to wholesale travel booking rates. Journey well, everyone. You know, one of the things, curious your opinion on this, that I've considered with dreams is, this idea that perhaps sometimes especially these really frightening sort of dreams, dark and whatever dreams can be a way for us to process those sorts of energies without them playing out in physicality.
Absolutely. Safe role play. It's a way for us to experience the worst that can possibly happen. So when people write to me and said, I dreamt that my baby died, or my partner, or my father or mother died, is this going to happen? I'm so scared. And it's, in a way, it's just taking you to that worst possible place cathartically and showing you that you can wake up the next morning and you can carry on and you can cope with all this.
Yeah.
It is a way to actually, experience the worst and show you that you will survive.
Yeah.
Whatever you think you can't, you are stronger than that. Dreams are your best friend. They are internal therapist, like therapy and counseling, and much cheaper than real counseling. They are their whole aim is to increase your self-knowledge and to help you deal with your shadow side, to safely role play emotions that, you can't in waking life because you'd hurt other people and yourself. But in your dreams, you get to be or do anything. And it's so sad, really, that a lot of people even limit themselves in their dreams, because I encourage people to actually dream bigger and to not be frightened, to have wildly exciting dreams, to incubate a dream. And when they're in the dream, to maybe wake up in that dream, know they're dreaming when they're dreaming, and lucid dreaming, and meet anyone they want, be anything they want. And because honestly, when you do that in your dream life, it's the biggest confidence boost. It's incredible. It can have a really powerful knock-on effect in your waking life, because you realize that there's so much about me that I have yet to discover. I'm so interesting. And I love that when people fall in love with their dreams, they start to fall in love with themselves, because a lot of us struggle with self-love, and dreams help us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's, I think back to when I started on my spiritual path 25 years ago, And one of the first things I was reading about was out of body experiences and astral
Yes.
projection. And the one of the techniques that was in the book was like, you can become lucid in your dream. And then when you do say, oh, I'm in a dream, I want to leave my body, and you'll have an out of body experience. And I was sharing this with my brother, and he was like, what are you smoking if you believe this stuff? At the time we were raised super conservative Christian, and it's like, what out of body experience? What? And he goes, well, this lucid dreaming thing you're talking about, actually, I do know what that is because I used to do it as a kid. So then he goes from one day kind of making fun of me, but acknowledging that lucid dreaming is a thing because he had experienced it, to the next day, because he talked about it, it caused him to become lucid in his dream again for the first time since childhood. And he remembered, okay, I want to leave my body. And then he had an out-of-body experience. So he went from one day making fun of me to the next day looking like he'd seen a ghost. Like, oh my gosh, I was standing there looking at my body. Moved my hand in front of my face. It's all energy trails, And so that was a really cool, the beginning of my own spiritual journey, a real cool confirming moment for me.
Lucid dreaming is the wildest ride. If you, everybody experiences, I think, at least once.
I haven't, and I really want to, and I haven't.
I'm sure you did as a child. You might not recall it. It's something that we don't need to learn how to do. We just need to remember how to do. It's something we can all do. And the more you think about the possibility of doing it, the more you question your reality during the day, and have a reality check saying, is this a dream or am I asleep?
Yeah.
The more likely it is. It's because you carry that curiosity about the present moment into the dream, because dreams reflect your attitude to your waking life. But there is I must say, there is a difference between lucid dreaming and out of body. They're distinct things, because lucid dreaming is safe. It happens within the body, within your mind. Out of body experiences and astral travel, I haven't yet gone there yet. I'm looking at the studies into it. But I do know that in near-death experiences, that's what people report, leaving their body behind, seeing their bodies. And I've had stacks of people message me about this phenomenon, and it certainly merits much, much more research and, incredible thought.
It's fascinating.
But it's soul, isn't it? It's that part of us, that essence, that when we die, we leave our body behind, like when we take a coat off, it's clothes. And the essence of us goes somewhere. That's just such a beautiful thought. And as I say, anyone who's lost a loved one will sense that truth.
Yeah, I love how Ram Dass puts it. Death is like taking off a tight shoe.
Yes,
I like.
Well,
that.
it's like blowing out a candle, but dawn's coming, and it's. I have so many people write to me about afterlife signs, afterlife experiences, or near-death experiences are huge. They really are fascinating. I mean, what people who've had near-death experiences come back and report is so detailed, so intense. And the most convincing thing about to show that they're not hallucinations, because hallucinations tend to leave people depleted and depressed and disordered, is that people who've had near-death experiences, they come back utterly transformed. Typically, they will change their life radically.
Yeah.
And want to make a real difference with their lives as never before. In most cases, it's such a positive turnaround experience.
Yeah.
That for me shows that they are kind of divine, heaven sent, whatever term you want to use.
Yeah. What's the results that come out of it? And then you have the people who are like, they can experience depression, right, from coming out, because here they've gotten a glimpse of a whole nother level of freedom and expansion of their being, and then they
don't want to come back,
put back into this little box.
Yes, they don't want to come back, but typically, we're here for a reason. This life is a sacred opportunity, because from what I know from conversations with people who've had these experiences and from mediums, is that in this life there are things we can learn that is much tougher to do on the spiritual realm.
Yeah,
that through the physical, that it's very important for our soul growth, because that's the whole purpose of our journey on life, I think, is to learn. As long as you're learning, you're living your meaning. And even if that learning is tough and hard and painful, think of the bigger picture. Growth hurts sometimes.
Yep. I agree. I believe as long as there's an opportunity for growth, we stay. We're here. And when that opportunity has been explored to the fullest, we find an exit. And for some people, that's at 100 years old. For others, that is at 10 years old. You know, they came, they had a particular mission, and maybe to impact those they left behind, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's sort of
I
how
know there are
view
all
that.
these questions of why must a baby die? Why must this person experience pain? Why this is injustice and just. And the only way I can do is, again, because I'm a dream lady, talk about metaphor. The underside of a tapestry is all loose ends, and that maybe on the other side in spirit, when you turn it over, you see the bigger picture where everything makes sense.
I
That's the only way.
agree.
Yeah, that's the only way sometimes to deal with it, because, you know, sometimes cruelty and injustice are very hard to explain. You know, if you know, to people who say that to me, well, why do bad things happen to good people? I get asked that so much.
Yeah. And I would say you're looking at a sliver of a much larger narrative, and then determining, you know, that bad thing that happened to the child or whatever. And it's like, and that's an eternal soul experiencing its own growth and evolution in a context that is so much larger than this life. So if I take a sliver of anything, you know, you look at the caterpillar in the chrysalis, it's very, very messy and ugly what's happening. Yeah. It's melting into a goo. But on the other side of that is a butterfly, you know? Yes. So if I just look in that snapshot moment, you know, it's out of context in a sense.
It's goo.
It's goo. It's gooey. Life can be gooey.
Yes. And to try and when it's like that, that's the hardest. It's the dark night of the soul, isn't it? I mean, that's where actually your dreams can help you, because when life is tough, you can always have this refuge, this place in your dreams where you can maybe get some understanding and comfort and healing. Yeah. You know, dreams can be tremendously helpful and empowering. So, and I always say the most exciting part of your day actually starts when you go to sleep. I stand by that, because you go into this mystical realm of infinite possibility and potential. So many of us don't value that. Yeah. You know, think of dreams as nonsense or a waste of time. They are anything but. Every dream is a gift. It has a message for you to help you understand yourself better in some way. Yeah. Because biggest problems in life is people don't often understand who they are. Yeah. And that's why they go to therapists and counselors, or have difficult relationships, or, you know, mess up. It's all because of lack of self-knowledge and self-belief. Yeah. Those two is what we are here on this earth to learn. And then hopefully at the end, the Holy Trinity is self-love. You know, self-knowledge, self-belief, self-love. Mm-hmm. That's what, you know, and when it doesn't really matter what other people think about you, because you know you are enough. And this moment is all that is needed for your happiness. That's, for me, the spiritual journey. Yes. Love that. I love that. I'd love to hear your thoughts on, you know, angelic encounters and this sort of thing. What your take is. I've written about 15 books of angel story collections. Is that all? They were my first Sunday Times top 10. I wrote An Angel Called My Name, which was simply after I'd done my encyclopedias, because I started off doing big encyclopedias, the psychic world. My editor said, look, you know, we need an angel collection of stories. So I invited people to send them in, got hundreds, literally, wrote An Angel Called My Name, which included my thoughts about angels as well, linking it together. And that led to like about 14 more in the series, because people have these angel stories. But what I began to realize, that it wasn't necessarily, you know, wings and halo at all. It was what you talk about a lot, synchronicity. It was intuition. It was dreams. It was the love of a pet. It was telepathy between loved ones. And I started to have a very expansive interpretation of angels as all these unexplained supernormal experiences. That's where I'm different from other angel writers who will stick to the conventional. Right. I actually have a dislike, it's personal, I could be wrong, of any kind of angel hierarchy of archangels and all that. That's, for me, trying to pretend that on the other side it's a bit like LinkedIn. Yeah, it's ridiculous. We apply, you know, I've connected to archangel so and so, or, you know, all these complicated names, and I think applying very human understanding to what is spiritual. For me, it's just this force of, for me, angels represent anything that is pure, unconditional love, goodness, kindness, empathy. And however that expresses itself in you or in others is angelic for me. It's like the Force. I love Star Wars. The Force.
Me too. Me too. I'm with you.
It's the light side of the Force. It really is.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
angels for me.
Is there any, having written so many books around, angelic phenomenon and energy, is there any particular stories that you've heard or come across that stand out?
I have had angel save my life stories that are astonishingly dramatic, of people having angel visions that have saved them from the brink of death. But always I go back to the very simple everyday stories which touch me the most. For example, someone wrote to me, a lady, saying that she loved her mother dearly. Her mother had passed, and her mother's dying words would say, "Don't look at my dead body. I want you to remember me vibrant. I don't want you to, But when the funeral came, all the relatives were pressuring her to go and look at the dead body and pay her respects, and she was almost going to do it. But then she decided not to. And then she went to the funeral and she felt a kiss on her cheek and she knew it was her mother.
Oh, wow.
And she closed her eyes in the funeral and just saw her mother in her mind's eye. Those kind of stories are what touch me most. Every day, encounters like that, which for me are just as powerful as the dramatic "an angel saved me from a fire" kind of thing.
Right.
And these are experiences people have that connect them to the afterlife in a beautiful way, which helps them cope with grief as well, because it makes them feel that the heart, I'm quoting Titanic now, the heart goes on. Somehow,
Will you sing it, please?
No. I have this habit. I've become a bit of a movie buff actually over the years, and but I find movies are able to express spiritual concepts in such a mainstream way that can reach millions.
Yeah,
in a way books sometimes can't. And that's what I write about. That idea that a part of us is eternal.
Yeah, I agree. Movies, it's funny because, I was just talking about my son, and he's just starting to down the path of shooting his first short film, and it's and it's been really cool to watch, because that's his whole aim, is like, he's such a little philosopher and such a deep thinker, and that's his aim, is like movies are his path. He's been studying film for years and years and years, and now he's like starting to make them, and so it's pretty cool to see.
Well, a movie sometimes with that Disney movie Soul, which came out, absolutely astonishingly beautiful.
Yeah, it really was.
What I'm trying to say in all my books, really, and it could reach millions when they're watching it in a way that's so mainstream.
Yeah.
And I think all movies actually that really have great longevity, like I talk about Star Wars, it's the Force.
Yeah.
It's not the special effects or Harrison Ford. It's the Force that people are packing cinemas for. Lord of the Rings, it's about this, this journey, this epic spiritual journey that Frodo goes on. And, these are all spiritual messages undercover.
Yeah.
In movies. And where would we have been in the pandemic without Netflix anyway? I mean, to save us. I'm very for movies and film.
It's such a powerful medium, and especially when you have someone there seems to be more and more people like, here's this young guy now who's like, okay, this is the world I'm stepping into. This is my passion, and I want to use it as a tool to help inspire people and get people to think about, these same ideas that we're talking about here, and using deeply. Story to inspire and point to the incredible nature of reality that we're all amidst.
Well, that's what I'm going to link it to dreams again, because dreams are movies in our minds that we create. We're the director, the producer, the actor every single night. There's a real link between movies and dreams, because, we can have these fun Netflix season in our mind at night when we go to sleep. We create it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Any thoughts? I had someone who was asking me about a dream. I'll ask you real quick. This person said, I've been having recurring dreams about checking out of a hotel room late and having to pack up what seems like an entire house of belongings, and dreams of running late for a flight. I feel like the two are related. And this is in the Positive Heads Facebook group. And
these dreams are kind of like feeling unprepared, dreams of running late, and in waking life, what you need to do if the dream's recurring is to look in your waking life. You've always got to think the feeling that the dream inspires when you wake up. Where in your waking life are you feeling the same? That's what the dream is drawing your attention to. Sort that out. You won't have that dream again. Where do you feel unprepared? Sort it out. Your dreams are just basically, it's tough. A lot of dreams are tough love. They are playing out these scenarios to encourage you to sort out your waking life, and so I always say it's feeling unprepared in some way, and I wouldn't know the individual circumstances of that.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. Well, as we sort of wind down here, Theresa, I always like to get a personal story of synchronicity or serendipity or positive paranormal story. And I got to imagine that you have something up your sleeve that would be fun and inspiring to share.
I could go on and on and on, but the one that kind of like I wrote in my first book was I really feel that my intuition or the afterlife saved my life, and that I had a very powerful dream that I was walking and I saw my mother telling me to take the right path. Now, when I woke up the next morning, it was almost like my mother had passed. And she always used to say to me as I was growing up, take the right path, but that meant do the right thing.
Yeah.
Right. So I just thought, oh, how lovely. I felt it was a connection. But then the following, literally a few hours later, because I was actually going to an interview and I was at a junction and I should have turned left, but I didn't. When I was at the junction, the dream came into my mind, and for some irrational reason, I turned right. And I later found out that there was a massive pileup, that 15-car pileup.
Wow.
And yes, it could be coincidence. I second guessed myself about it all the time. But also turning right actually made me miss my interview. It was my first radio interview at the time. And they didn't reschedule. These were the days they didn't reschedule. So there's actually irrational that I turned right when going left would have got me there quicker. And was the route I should have taken. But it was just, and that's when it's kind of from the other side, or it's intuition or it's inner wisdom, you have this I just knew that I had to go right.
Wow.
And I did.
And you knew that would throw you off course when you were doing it.
I didn't even think about that. I just thought I've got to go right. It was almost like this force, this calm certainty. And it wasn't panic.
Wow.
Just go right. So did that save my life? Should I be dead? I don't know. I know it kind of
another timeline, really, maybe.
Yeah. So that's something that's sort of, but there are other things as well, powerful dreams and other powerful dreams, coincidences, hunches that have played out, all these things. It's kind of my life, really. You can't write in this area without experiencing a lot of what you write about.
I imagine. I imagine. So. Well, this has been amazing, Theresa. I love you and your approach and your kind of pragmatic, practical sort of approach to it all. I think it's refreshing, and without throwing out the fact that this is also mesmerizingly mystical from another perspective too. And I think it's really important to kind of embody and hold down both of those energies when we approach all of this stuff. And you do it so well. And this has been amazing. What's the best way?
Super kind. You're super kind. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. What is the best way for people to connect with you, follow your work? Well,
I'm going to revamp my social media.
We talked about that. Neither of our highest excitement.
Please forgive me, but I will at some point. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, of course, but my website is www.theresacheung.com. But go on Amazon. I'm Amazon.com. I am a British author, so of course my books and Amazon.co.uk is probably the best portal, but I am available Amazon.com as well. And don't fall over in surprise. I am a serial writer.
Yeah,
not a serial killer, but a serial writer.
We can deal with serial writing. That's a little easier to digest. So I do have one final question for you, and it is this. In 60 seconds or less, what is the meaning of life, according to Theresa Cheung?
Oh, this is tough because I talk a lot and people always say, including my family, get to the point, but I will get to the point. The meaning of life is to learn and grow, and to do that by doing the next right thing. Oh gosh, I'm quoting Frozen now. There's a song in Frozen, but it is.
Too many movies.
Do the next right thing. Yeah.
I love
Take
that.
small steps. Just do the next right thing for yourself as well as for others.
Yes. I definitely feel that. I've had that experience lately where it's making a choice that takes more steps and painful from one perspective, and another it's the right step. And so just do it.
And if it's the wrong step, if you learn from it, that's absolutely fine.
And then therefore, is there such thing as a wrong step?
We'll
save that one. We'll save that for another day. Theresa, thank you so much for everything that you do and coming on and connecting. And all of you out there listening, thank you for tuning in your beautiful brainwaves and brilliant hearts. Until next time, journey well. Also, before we sign off, I wanted to remind you to download the Golden Key audio or ebook as my free gift to you at goldenkey.gift using the Golden Key code POSITIVEHEAD. And please, if you enjoy my gift, leave a positive review on Amazon so others can find the book and unlock their lives with the help of the Golden Key as well.